Good afternoon, everybody. It is 5 o'clock, and I know that because I can hear the beautiful sound of the bells in the Breslin Tower, and wish you guys could hear it as well. But I want to be respectful of everyone's time and get started, and just want to say how grateful I am for everybody who's here tonight. My name is Susan Askew. I'm class of 86 of the college, and I am the Associate Vice President for Alumni and Parent Programs. And we, as you guys know, we had a year of COVID where we were not able to travel around and visit with you or invite you to campus. And so we ended up doing a lot of these Zoom meetings. And I think we all had a little bit of Zoom fatigue. But to me, the silver lining behind all that was that we could still reach out and be together in this way. And so it's one thing that we want to kind of continue from our COVID days as a way to just stay in touch and share news with our Sewanee family. And so tonight's topic is all about our Study Away and Study Abroad program. And so one thing we're going to do is I'm going to introduce the panelists here, and they will give you just a little overview and background of the program, and then we will open it up to questions. And if you're familiar with Zoom, you know there's a little Q&A feature, and if you'll put your questions there, we will get to those. And we also had some questions that were submitted ahead of time, and so we'll try to answer all the questions that you have. And I hope it will be a very informative night tonight. Real quickly before we get started, I wanted to say that we loved having you all here for Family Weekend. It was just so good to be able to host you all. And if you were here, I hope you had a good time. And the main thing I want to say is we still do not have the date for next year. I think we're very close to getting it. There was some small tweak in the academic calendar that required some kind of vote and approval. And I think there's one more step to that. But once we get that done, they have told me that they'll give me 3 years worth of dates. So we usually do have it by now. So I know that you guys are ready for it, and I'll get it to you as soon as we have it. And then second, this weekend is fall break, so I hope you're going to have a good visit with your students. We'll miss them here if they're leaving campus, but I know you'll enjoy seeing them. All right, now I wanted to share with you guys who's here tonight with us. We have Andrea Del Basso, and she is the director of the Office of Global Citizenship. And then we also have Marcus Murphy. He's a college graduate, class of 07. And he's the director of global initiatives. And we're also joined by Shawnee Sissom, and she is the study abroad advisor. And so you guys, I'm just going to turn it over to you, and you just let me know when it's time to switch the slides, and I'll control that while you guys share all the good information.
Great. Thank you, Susan. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So we have prepared a few slides for all of you, and we have looked at some of your questions ahead of time as well, but feel free to put more in the chat, especially if we don't cover them. But I'm going to go over just a little bit of a general overview of what we're going to cover this evening through our slides. So Susan, you want to go to the next slide? So here's our agenda this evening. So we're going to speak a little bit about how we kind of vet our partners and vet our programs. We're going to speak a bit about the Sewanee Pledge and how it relates to study abroad and study away. We'll talk about costs, credit transfer, program types and locations, and then ways for you to continue the conversation with us, or also just giving you resources where you can find more information. So I'm going to start with the vetting the partners and the programs. So when we look at our partners for study abroad and study away and the programs that we're choosing, these are a few of those items that we look at. So we look at essentially the in-country student support or on-the-ground student support. And we're using the terms study abroad and study away Study abroad is really related to international programs, but we also have study away programs that are here in the US. So for example, we have one in New York City. We have some that we approve in Puerto Rico that are semester. So these are programs that are, we call them study away. So that's the differentiation between the terms. We look at the on-site student support. So a lot of times universities internationally do not have as robust a student support model as we have here in the US. So when we're looking at either universities just directly or with our program providers, we're looking at that level of support they can provide our students that the students need and that they expect as well. So that would be, emotional support, social support, student activities, academic support, tutoring, things like that. We also look at health and safety. So we have a policy on the US State Department travel advisories and how that relates to if we approve and authorize programs and destinations or if we don't. But we look at the cities where students go, the countries where they're going. We look at the health and safety of the provider as well and how they navigate those situations. We look at the international insurance that they are enrolled in. And related to health and safety, of course, is going to be risk management. So we look at all of those risk management processes, processes and policies. And then looking at the academic rigor and curricular offerings. So we want to make sure that the programs we approve both are appealing to our students, but also that they are academically rigorous and they offer curriculum that the students will need or that will help them graduate, right? So we want to make sure that students are going to be taking programs and earning credit that will progress them toward graduation. And that, our programs kind of with types, we can have direct enrollment at a university in another country, or the students can take classes kind of at a study center, which is also a common model in another country. So it just kind of depends on what we think is going to meet the needs of our students and that they have. And then we also look at high impact practices, and we define these as community engagement essentially in the site where they're going. And that community engagement can take the form of an internship. It could take the form of service learning or research. It could also be like a homestay model where the students are staying with a family while they're abroad or away. And so we want to make sure that the students are not just getting the most out of their study abroad and away experience academically, but also when it comes to that transformative piece of them actually engaging with the community. And then of course we look at cost. So that's also one of the rubrics that we look at. So specifically how study abroad and study away relates to the Sewanee Pledge. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the pledge. There's basically three aspects. And the one I'm going to speak to now is going to be that second bullet point. And basically the pledge says we pledge to help Sewanee graduates find their place in an interconnected world by providing them with a semester-long study abroad or study away program at no additional tuition cost. And Shawnee's going to talk a bit more about costs later, but I do want to just emphasize that this is going to be semester study abroad and study away programs that are approved and authorized through our office. So the students who can take advantage of the Sewanee Pledge, and if you just want to go to the next slide, Susan. So in order to qualify for this pledge or to take advantage of it, the students must study abroad their junior year. So they have to have earned 64 or more credit hours. Now there's an asterisk. So all of the bullet points have asterisks. There's 3 of them, 3 out of the 4. It means that there's a petition process for students who don't meet this one requirement, because we want to make sure that the pledge is accessible for any student who wants to study abroad or study away for the semester. So if they are a sophomore or a senior, they can petition to study abroad or study away during those years instead of the junior year. And the petition process essentially is they have to explain to us why that year or that semester is it's better for them to have this experience. It could be because their major at Sewanee gets very specific. It could be, a great example is because last year everything was on hold because of COVID, we automatically have allowed any senior who wants to study abroad this year to be able to do that. Students must also have a 2.7 GPA. If their GPA is a 2.5 to a 2.69, they can also petition for study abroad or study away under the pledge. The students must be in good academic and disciplinary standing in order to take advantage of the pledge. And then they also must choose an approved and authorized program. So I don't want to get too much into the process because that's getting into the weeds, but the programs are, we approve programs and we review them every other summer to just make sure that we are approving, again, programs that fit our criteria, that meet a rubric. And then we also authorize students to apply to a certain number of programs. And that authorization process happens in our office. So Marcus, Sewanee, and I all act as advisors for study abroad and study away students. And so those students, they meet with us. We go over their learning objectives for the experience, and then we will choose programs that we think will meet what they want to accomplish or help them accomplish what they want to accomplish. So at that, I'm actually going to pass it on to Sewanee, and she's going to cover costs of study abroad and study away, as well as credit transfer.
So I know that costs are a concern for many when it comes to study abroad. So hopefully we will address most of your concerns in these next couple of slides. So for all semester programs, students are charged their Sewanee tuition, room, board, and fees. We will then pay the students' program fees, including tuition, room, board, deposits on their behalf. Student standard financial aid packages, excluding work study, proctor stipends, and other on-campus earnings, will apply to semester study abroad. Students are eligible to apply to third-party scholarships, and they can receive up to 50% of the amount awarded. That amount is determined by the financial aid office after they have reviewed the student's financial aid package. There are variations among our programs and the room and board arrangements that they offer. On rare occasions, room charges are not billed by the provider. In that instance, we will discount the entire room charge, and the student will then pay that out of pocket. If a self-catered or partial meal plan is provided, students will receive a full or partial refund of their Sewanee board charge based on the number of meals not provided. In some instances, programs will offer housing options with the same cost with varying meal options. To not get too complex, there may be a homestay option and an apartment option where one will be self-catered and one will offer 14 meals a week. They will be both have the same cost, but one will include 14 meals. So we will still refund only based on the 14 meals. So that's just something to be aware of. Other additional costs will include any program costs that go beyond our comprehensive fee, course fees. You'll see these a lot with art classes, labs, and experiential courses. Optional housing fees, you'll see those typically with single rooms or more luxurious type housing. Those are generally indicated on the program's website. Travel, there you're looking at flight and ground transportation, visa and passport, books and supplies, and optional program excursions and field trips. Another cost to be aware of, if a student withdraws from a program, they could have a fee applied to their account that maybe an application fee, a deposit, a withdrawal, if Sewanee has incurred that fee from their program. So just another thing to be aware of. We can go to the next slide. Summer costs. So students will be directly invoiced by the program provider for summer costs. Those are strictly out of pocket. Sewanee does not offer institutional aid for summer programs, but there are scholarship opportunities available through program providers, government and educational entities, and times faculty-led programs. So sometimes our faculty-led programs will allocate so much money and award students with scholarships. We can move to the next. I understand you are also probably curious about credits. Sewanee programs. For courses in which students are enrolled through Sewanee, those courses will be calculated into the GPA. These programs include Sewanee semester in Spain, study and intern in New York, and various short-term faculty-led programs. Exceptions are Sewanee in France and Sewanee in Berlin. These programs have one or two courses in which students will be enrolled through Sewanee, and those courses will be taught by faculty. Those courses will count toward the GPA. The remaining courses taught on those programs will go through the transfer guidelines, which I'm about to cover. All students studying at other institutions must have their courses pre-approved by their major advisor and the registrar's office. Courses for major and minor credit and certificate requirements are reviewed by the department chair. In addition to fulfilling major and minor requirements, students may fulfill 2 general education requirements while they are away. All transfer credits must be a grade of a flat C or higher. They do not affect the student's GPA, but they will appear on the transcript. One thing to be aware of is that many of our partner institutions and institutions abroad have 3 credit courses, where here at Sewanee we have 4 credit courses. So in many cases, students will take 5 3-credit classes and will transfer 15 credits, leaving them 1 credit short of their usual 16 credits. Students can then take our pre-departure course before they go abroad, or our re-entry course, to make up that 1 credit difference. That is what we would encourage them to do. Some institutions also have different credit values. Those must be converted. This is something to be aware of when looking at programs with your students. We would encourage students to begin planning for study abroad during their freshman year in order to ensure that they prepare to take courses that they may need during certain semesters and meet requirements for study abroad. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Marcus to cover programs.
All right. Thank you, Shawnee. I'm just going to talk briefly kind of about the different program types we have, sort of in general, so you have a better picture of the programs as a whole. The first program I'll mention, or first type of programs, are the summer options. And we have 2 main types of summer options. And those are the faculty-led programs and then those provider programs. that Andrea mentioned earlier. You saw a lot of logos of those providers and partners that we work with. So as far as faculty-led programs in the summer, you may have heard of our Island Ecology program that was able to still go last summer. And it's been going for, I think, close to 20 years now. We also have some new programs that are in the works for now. And with all of these programs, the faculty, a Sewanee faculty member will be on the program, teaching the classes, helping with the research, and yeah, sometimes there are even multiple professors on these programs. And this is just a sampling. And then, as Andrea mentioned earlier, we have a large list of provider programs available as well for the summer. And then moving on down, we have our semester programs. Again, we have several faculty-led options here. This spring, there will be a faculty-led program in Spain. Our newest faculty-led program is occurring currently in New York City alongside Center and Rhodes College. And then again, some more in the works. And then you can see here at the bottom, we work with many different providers to provide opportunities to go almost anywhere in the world, including all 7 continents. So yeah, the best place to really scroll through those. Unfortunately, we just don't have the time to go through all those with you today. It's quite a long list. Those are located on our website, the Office of Global Citizenship website. And if you just simply click on Study Abroad, it'll eventually you can click on all these different programs. And good thing to think about in terms of timing for each of these programs, whether it's a summer program or semester program, the deadlines typically are the middle of the semester before that abroad experience. As Sewanee mentioned, should certainly be thinking about this earlier and not wait until the middle of that semester to begin that conversation. However, that's typically when a lot of those deadlines are. All right. And finally, before we move into the Q&A, hopefully we've touched upon a lot of the questions you already have. We look forward to trying to answer the rest of them. But just wanted to note, do come see us if you are on campus. So we just moved into the Watson House, which is kind of just down the hill from All Saints Chapel. If you were to click on the Sewanee map and search Office of Global Citizenship, will pop up. I'd love to have you pop in and chat with us. Plenty more to see on our website, studyabroad.sewanee.edu. And then from that website, you can also find the Office of Global Citizenship staff page. You'll find each of us there alongside our email addresses, and we'd be happy to set up a meeting or conversation if need be. And we'd love to have you follow us on Instagram and Facebook. In addition to sharing highlights of different programs, we often will update students and whoever follows on upcoming deadlines, etc. And yeah, I guess I just wanted, I forgot to note that I was lucky enough as a student here to take part on a faculty-led summer research program in China. And it was really a trajectory changer for me. Currently, I also teach Chinese language classes here at the university, and certainly wouldn't be here in front of you if it weren't for my experience. So I know this is a lot of information, but it truly can be one of the, we often hear how just transformative these experiences are. So yeah, look forward to helping you make it a reality for your child. So I guess I will turn it over to Susan to lead us in the Q&A.
Well, great, fantastic. Thanks for that overview. I do see a couple questions in the Q&A, but I see that Tracy has her hand up. Tracy Peel, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Sorry, I accidentally clicked a button, so just go on.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm going to move to the next hand up, which is Deidre Harris.
Also wrong.
All right, all right. Okay, so let's see here. We've got some questions. Someone is asking about a program in Russia and what they can do if their child is interested in the program in Russia.
Yeah, so I'm happy to answer that question. So I believe it's Mark who asked it. So we are currently in the process of vetting a partner for Russia. So currently Russia is at a US State Department travel advisory of level 4. And so what that means is that we will not authorize any study abroad or travel there currently. So our policy on the State Department advisory levels, if it's a State Department level 4 for reasons outside of COVID. So terrorism, political unrest, police corruption, things like that, then it's not authorizable. And so right now, Russia is not authorizable. If it's level 4 because of COVID and only because of COVID, then our risk advisory committee will review the site and make a decision. So it isn't automatically approved, but it's also not automatically not approved. So that's just something to note. Related to Russia, though, in the summer, we do have a Russian professor on campus who is currently planning a study abroad program in the Ukraine. So to do Russian language, because Russia, like I said, it's not authorizable. That's why he's not planning it in Russia, but he is looking at the Ukraine. I hope that answered the question. And then the other question, Susan, do you mind if I just read through the questions?
That's great.
Okay, so there's another question is, if Sewanee has helped supplement an unpaid internship and a student wants to do study abroad in the summer, is there any summer funding? So there's no summer funding from Sewanee for the tuition and fees for a summer program. Certain departments will offer opportunities for students to apply for like travel funds, for example, to help with airfare. We actually have an account in our office for students who are Pell eligible where they can apply for travel funds. And so there is some funding related to that, but not for tuition and fees coming out of Sewanee to pay for summer programs. The question about scholarships, are they in addition to other scholarships or that the students may have? So I'm not sure specifically which scholarships are being discussed, but if a student earns scholarships through a study abroad provider, then the scholarships are awarded up to 50% to the student. And yes, that is in addition to any scholarships they receive at Sewanee. Liliana, you are welcome to contact any of us in the office. I believe Marcus shared the link to our staff page, and that staff page will have all of our contact information. Oh my goodness, there's so many more questions coming up. It's having a hard time reading them. They're disappearing before I can read them. Okay, summer faculty-led programs. So, oh, I just lost that. Can you please reiterate what you said about the summer faculty programs? So Sewanee does not help with the tuition of the programs. That would be separate. So Sewanee would charge the tuition for the program, like they charge tuition for summer school, essentially. And so that's where that money how that money would be paid, even though it is a Sewanee faculty leader. Is it possible for a student to participate in more than one program? So it's possible, but they do not get the pledge twice. They can only have the pledge for one semester. So if they wanted to do a second international program, then they'd have to pay everything. Basically, they would pay Sewanee comprehensive tuition and fees out of pocket. So that's how that would work. Another option that some students do is they do a summer program since they're already paying for that out of pocket anyway. And then they'll do the semester program under the pledge. Some students will also do a semester program under the pledge and then try to do an international internship the summer afterward. Most students do study abroad during junior year. So, but like I said, sophomores and seniors can petition, and it honestly does depend on the student and even the major, because some majors are more structured and some majors also have smaller faculty loads or fewer faculty you teach in that major. So when that's the case, then classes are only offered in that major one semester a year, for example. So depending on the major and also, like I said, the student's maturity level and the student's interest, some of them will study abroad during sophomore or senior year. But yes, the vast majority of our students study abroad junior year. Okay.
There's a couple
So-
questions about semester at sea, I see. Is it an approved program?
So semester, Sewanee, do you want to chime in on that one?
Yes. So we do not approve semester at sea. We approve sea semester. So a little bit of a difference there. They do. What I'm thinking right now, they do some marine studies, obviously. Marine biology specifically. I'm trying to recall. I'll have to look into that, but I am happy to contact the person who asked that question directly. I just saw it go by. But I'm happy to reach out to them. I'll go look up that information right now.
Somebody had asked about if your student is an athlete, how does that work? Do they miss their season or?
So we love it when athletes go abroad. I just want to say that because they don't go abroad as frequently, I think, because of it's just another level of responsibility for athletes. So it's just hard for them to figure out when to place it into their academic program. But yes, they can choose I did see a question about, can they choose their semester? Yes, they can choose their semester when they go abroad according to their kind of, I guess, athletic season. You know, basketball is probably the hardest because their season spans both semesters pretty significantly. But the other ones, yeah, you know, soccer, if it's their fall sport, if they want to study abroad in the spring, that's probably advisable. And we have several partners that have really robust training facilities on their campuses. And even we have a few programs that are even close to like Olympic training facilities. So the students who are athletes, as long as we know they're athletes and they need to keep up with their training while abroad, we can help them find a program that gives them the resources to do that. And then we just work also with the coach to make sure that the coaches understands that this is a really important experience. And the coach might also give them kind of a scheduled training that they can do on their own. So and again, there's lots of opportunities even for them to play club sports while they're abroad. So I'm just thinking soccer specifically is, you know, bigger outside of the US than in it usually. So there's lots of those opportunities.
And then when I kind of promoted the webinar tonight, I kind of grabbed some language off of y'all's website about internships. And can you talk about how that is considered study away or study abroad?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of a program that we've mentioned a couple of times because we're very excited about it is our New York City program. And it just has launched this fall. And that program actually is the students earn 16 credits. So it's a full load and they take 2 courses. So each of those courses is 4 credits. And they do an internship that is worth 8 academic credits. So the students are getting 16 credits while they're abroad or away while they're in New York, but 2 of those are like in the classroom setting. And then the equivalent of 2 courses is through that internship. So students can earn academic credit for their internship, which is why we talk about it with study abroad and study away. So there's an internship option where they earn academic credit and they have of course, hands-on experience. There's also service learning options where they earn academic credit, but then they have kind of community involvement and try to help meet the needs of the community. And then there's also a research option on several of our programs where students are getting academic credit for a research project that they're doing. And so those are all three excellent opportunities for students. And as long as we know that coming in, we can advise them on the programs to choose, or the programs that will meet those goals.
Great. There's a question about, and you may have covered it and I missed it, but if you do a summer program, which you would not typically be paying tuition, during the summer here, how does that work? Is that an additional cost? Does that make sense the way I asked that? Okay.
Yeah, so I think Sewanee may have already mentioned this, but and I'm sorry, we work with costs and financial aid all the time. So sometimes we get our minds working really quickly, but it's not coming out clearly. So we actually, the Sewanee Pledge, it transfers all students' aid to their study abroad or study away program. So they pay whatever they would pay at Sewanee during that semester, but they're studying abroad or studying away. So that's kind of how we talk about the pledge. Now, in the summer, if a program costs $5,000, right, then the students or the families are just going to pay that program directly. So it would be, and I think that, students can apply for additional loans. Some of the program providers have scholarships that they can apply for, but everything, the exchange, instead of coming through Sewanee like it would in the semester, it is just directly between the student and the study abroad program. Yeah.
Great. If you're going away for the semester, you have to move out of your dorm, right?
Yes, you do have to move out of your dorm, and you just alert Res Life that you're going to be going abroad or away. And I will say that a lot of times, piggybacking on that, Susan, many times, or it can be hard for study abroad and study away students who are going for a semester to be part of one of the living learning communities or the theme houses, right? Because they can only be there for one semester. And so usually when the theme houses are reviewing applications, they are looking at students who can be there for the whole year, because that's kind of the purpose of the theme house, is living and learning for a whole academic year around a topic. So it might be challenging for a student who might want to study abroad or study away for a semester and then live in a theme house the other semester. It's not impossible. We've seen it happen a few times, but I do want to be forthright about that.
What is the most popular program here?
Sewanee, I'm gonna defer to you on that one.
Ooh, I want to say that it comes in waves, because it does. Some years we will have large groups go to Australia and New Zealand. Right now, Europe is where everyone is wanting to go, and I would like to say it's not just because of COVID. So with that, a lot of students go to Vienna. It's a big one. IS Vienna. They offer a lot of classes. They have quite a large course offering at that center. I would say DIS is also a big one. It attracts a lot of students, and again, course offerings and variations in selection. They're located in Copenhagen and Stockholm, but Copenhagen seems to be the big attractor.
That's great. What about, I don't know that anyone asked this, but, and I may be behind the times, but there was a program where Sewanee and Rhodes, is it British studies or European studies? They would come here for 3 weeks and then go. Do we still do that? No. Okay. Never mind.
I'm muted. Yeah, that was the European Studies program. And so, Paul, I'm not sure if that's the one that you were asking about. We do have a Middlebury program at Oxford that we approve with Middlebury Institute, but so the European Studies program is no more, but we do kind of as an alternate, we are developing, or we have developed, a Sewanee in Berlin program that's during the fall semester. And that is, students get a German credit, but they also, it's more of international and global studies students who really, that is geared toward, more so than German students. But it is Sewanee in Berlin. And again, that kind of meets that need and that gap. And then in relationship to Rhodes and to Center, we are developing 3 study abroad programs, or well, 2 study abroad and 1 study away. The New York City program that we were mentioning is in collaboration with Center and Rhodes. So in New York City, we have Sewanee students, Rhodes students, and Center students all in class together. And then again, they have their own internship assignments. And then the other 2 programs that we're developing, or that we're currently in development, there's going to be one in Ghana, and that one will have 2 weeks on Rhodes campus before the students go abroad. And that's Global Ghana. It's kind of history, politics, economics. There's some music in there as well. And then we'll have one, and that's going to launch in fall of 2022. So, I guess less than a year from now. And then the other one that we're going to be launching is going to be an environmental arts and humanities program in Ecuador. So, and that's going to be fall 2023. And those 3 programs are in collaboration with Center and Rhodes.
Great. Here's a question that came in through the chat, and so you may not have seen it, but it says, my son is on a 50% academic scholarship. Does the 50% cover the cost of the study abroad, or do y'all cover just 50% of the total cost?
And I think Shawnee just answered that question. Okay. Yeah. But yes, so the bill will be the exact same when he goes abroad.
Great.
But there will be out-of-pocket expenses, including transportation and other things. Yeah.
Oh, and one thing I just want to say really quickly is passports. Passports should be valid 6 months on the end date of the student's program. So if they're going on a program, say in the spring, and program ends in May, that passport needs to be valid through at least November. And passports right now are difficult. It's a long wait time. So if your student is looking at studying abroad in the next couple of semesters and doesn't have a valid passport, or it's about to expire, they really need to look at getting it renewed now.
All right. Well, that is awesome. Does anybody have any other questions? It does look like maybe you answered. There's been a couple about how COVID affected students, but you said that you're not limiting it to the certain year, that they could still try to do that as a senior. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we had, so under the Sewanee Pledge, the first class that was juniors, they were juniors last year. So it was in the middle of, COVID, and everything was pretty much canceled for study abroad and even study away too. So we allowed all of the students who were, juniors last year, because they didn't have that opportunity, we've automatically said that they can study abroad this year as seniors. And so now the dilemma with that is typically students are not able to study abroad the spring semester of their senior year because of getting the transcript back so the student can graduate on time and things like that. So we do have some seniors studying abroad this fall. So we have seen some numbers and some uptake in that. I will say, I think there was a question about the students who are juniors this year. Could they petition and study abroad their senior year? And they can absolutely petition. I think we would just review those petitions and really take into consideration that even though they're juniors this year and there is study abroad and study away, it's still challenging for students to go. And there's a lot of other considerations. So I think that we will look favorably upon petitions of students who are juniors this year who want to petition to study abroad their senior year, so next year.
Well, fantastic. Thank you guys so much for sharing all this information and for answering the questions. And I'm grateful that the parents joined us. And also, what we'll do after this is we've recorded it, so we'll share this back out for people who maybe had to jump off or weren't able to attend. And then we'll also share the slide presentation, so you can look back over that and all the links to the website that Marcus had shared. But anyway,
Susan, there's one more question that came in. Can I just address it? So the question is asked about if students travel, once they're abroad, can they travel to other areas? And the answer to that question is yes, absolutely. And in fact, most of the programs are, they keep their classes to Monday through Thursday to give students a longer weekend. That's pretty common. And especially in Europe, it's so easy to travel to different countries. I would just say that the students have to be aware of any entry requirements for the countries, if they need to get any visas. You of course are paying for all of those costs out of pocket. And we do not allow travel to countries that are at the level 4 authorization for the State Department. They're that level for risk, so again, not the level 4 for COVID, but level 4 due to anything outside of COVID. So for example, the student could travel to North Korea, right? So that would not be authorized. But the other providers too that are on ground, they don't allow that either. When students do travel, they just have to communicate with their provider that they're traveling, because the provider needs to know in the event that there's a situation that happens where their students are. Because again, in Europe, I remember, when the terrorist attacks in Paris, there are a lot of students who were in Paris because it was on, I think, a Friday. And it wasn't, they were there for not studying abroad there, but they had traveled there. And so being able to get in touch with students quickly and knowing exactly where they are is very, very important for risk management. Yeah. Sewanee, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
No.
Okay. If there's any other questions that we didn't answer, chime in. I'm sorry, I can't, I'm not, there's a lot of text. I'm trying to read through it all.
well, great. And plus, y'all said they are welcome to follow up with you all if they want to talk any more in detail about some of this. So thank you guys. We'll make sure everybody knows how to reach you and be staying in touch. But everybody have a great evening. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.